So, starting off the show this morning with Evan Duignan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So, Evan's a inventor and entrepreneur. Started around 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Us a bit about your product or what you do.
Of course. So what's going on, guys? My name's Evan Duignan. I'm the founder and CEO of Alphamated. Okay. I created a machine called the Roller Express. I dubbed it. It's a machine that automates the silverware rolling process in a napkin for the hospitality space. So servers, etc., no longer have to roll it. Yep.
Nice, dude. And how long have you been working on this product itself?
So like you were saying, about 5-6 years or so, but I had the idea, right? But I had no engineering background. I didn't know really what to do too. And that went through engineering design firms, raising capital, et cetera, to now partnering with a manufacturer in order to produce the units at scale. Yeah.
Dang, dude. And what kind of got you started, and like what was the inspiration for this idea in the first place?
It used to be a dishwasher, and servers used to always be on my back about trying to roll silverware, basically. And they were like, run it through the dish tank, Evan, because they had to roll like 100, 200 sets of silverware. And like Katie had to get up out there because she had a birthday party to get to at 11, but like it was 9:30. And she needed like an hour to do this. She's like, hurry up, I'm gonna miss pregame. So like, she's like, hurry up, right? And then I was like, man, I just need to get them off my back, really. And then I went to OSU and entered a business competition called Boss at Ohio State.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, and then the first, and I just had like the idea in my head, right? Nothing really, anything besides that though. And first 2 rounds were like essentially elevator pitch the idea to like a small group and then a bigger group. And I just, honestly, I had the balls to just get up there and just talk about it. And that got me through the first 2 rounds. And then the third round was market research. So you had to talk to 25 potential customers to see if there's any like validity to what you got going on. And I was like, okay. And it was like, I had like a week to do it, right? And I didn't know anything about like SurveyMonkey or anything like that too. Like I was just like not aware. And so I just I took my car and then went down Olentangy River Road around here and then North High Street and just walked into every single restaurant and be like, hey, my name's Evan. I'm a student at OSU. And because I was a student at OSU, they were at least willing to talk to me.
Yeah.
And then they were just like, oh man, where's this been my whole life? Here's my card, give me a call, here's the GM. And it just kind of like went from there though too. And then at that point I was like, oh man, like this competition's teaching me something, man. I might actually have something though. And then it just trying to figure out the engineering side of it though too, and that took like the longest time, man. Honestly, it really did. But like I'm glad like I didn't give up in like year 3 or something like that though too, right? I just kind of stuck with it though because I'm like here now though, so that's what's important though, like that perseverance.
Yeah, that's dope. So like after college, did you keep chasing this then?
You know what's funny is I was a personal trainer and I ran like a personal training business, right? Because at the time, like I didn't really like know like how to do it, and so it was like working in the background though too, right? And then personal training I learned is not, unless you're going online, if you're training people like in person, it's not scalable, right? And I read a book called The Millionaire Fast Lane that basically had like the sense commandments, which is control, entry, need, time, and scale, which are all of the premises for like building a highly scalable, potentially multi-billion-dollar business, right? And I recognize on the scale aspect, the S of sense, that there's only so many hours in the day I could train people. And so I'm like, I need to do something else though. And so I just started to think more about products and everything, and then that idea for like a silverware rolling machine popped back in my head. I was like, oh man, there's something I can actually run with though too, right? Because I actually had like some real validation, and then I just like, I'm all right. I'm gonna will this to victory. I don't know a lick about engineering. I didn't know what a stepper motor was. I didn't know anything, right? And I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna get it done. And then it went through engineering design firms, trying to work with students at OSU. A lot of people were just like, I don't want to work past 5 p.m. Like, I'm just trying to get it, so we can't be doing that. And just went through a lot of trials and tribulations and just kind of kept on keeping on, really. Yeah.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
And early on, like, it was just you, or did you have partners that were in it, or?
Me, myself, and I would make a hell of a crew. Day ones, they ain't make it to day two.
Was
Yeah.
it big, like, OSU professors that you reached back out to in the past?
Yeah, no, I actually, at the time, I reached out to, I forget his name, forgive me, man, but he was the head of mechanical engineering at OSU.
Okay.
And then the head of electrical engineering at OSU, right? Funny story, right? When I first started back on this, they sent a mass email out to the entire engineering body, mechanical side and everything at OSU.
Yeah.
It was like 8,000 or something strong, right? Like on the email list. I got like 12 replies. Yeah. But hey, like, I'm like, hey, you're kicking yourself now. But I, at 12, those 12 of them, like 10 of them were like, yeah, I got a party I got to get to, or I got a volleyball league or something. I'm like, nah, I'm trying to get it. We need to figure something else out. And then there was a couple people that I did work with for a little while, though, too. But then we kind of split off and did our separate things. And at the time, like, after that, I was like, man, I don't know what to do. So I actually engaged with, like, the Small Business Development Center and the SBA, because they're like free government resources, though, too, right? And I'm just like, you know what? Let me just pick their brain, though, too, right? They probably have something that could help me out, right? Like, what's the point, right? They don't, if they can't, right? And so I was like, all right, I need to just have conversations with them and kind of hear them out and kind of take their advice and be the student right now, so I can be the teacher one day. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah.
And overall, like, were there moments where you were about to give up or thought about letting go of this whole thing and getting a job?
Oh my God, more times than I can literally put on like 10 hands, man. Honestly, yeah, like, especially when, like, there are certain partnerships or certain relationships that I thought were gonna like pan out and everything too, and I didn't have like a quote unquote backup plan, so to speak, though, too, right? And at the time, I'm like, man, maybe I can get into something else too, right? But I have like really big aspirations and goals for myself, though, too. Like, like when people are like, give me choices, I'm like, I want A and B. Don't make me pick. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I like that abundance mentality too. And like, I think honestly too, entrepreneurship in general, like even outside of like the monetary sense, also too, like I have time freedom too. I can like, for most sense, I can craft my own schedule too. I mean, I can't like reschedule meetings like on the fly unless I want to be really rude and I don't want to hold myself in that manner. But like, I actually have some like flexibility on that regard too. So I wanted to be there for like the important moments in life too, and not be tied down to things other than myself and like my own dreams and aspirations and goals too. And so I think like that helped me keep with it, though, too. And I kind of look at success in longer tenures. I say this before. I look at success in longer tenures. I'm okay, like, if for it taking a while, like up front too, because like the culmination of the events for the next 50 years plays out in my favor. The first 5 years are going to be some bullshit to like figure it out, right? But like the years past that are phenomenal, right? Like, ask anybody who's tried to learn a skill and everything, though, too, right? For instance, with you in media, right? The first 90 days you were trying to figure it out, the first like 2 days, the first 200, the first like, you know, like time and time on. That was probably really frustrating, right?
Yeah, we're only in year one. So.
Yeah, exactly. But like, imagine like this is year one though too, right? But imagine like the first 90 days. Your confidence between now and the first 90 days is a lot different though too, right? But now you're culminating or cultivating a skill and like a platform which allows you to get into other opportunities too. But imagine if you're like, oh no, I wish I would have done something easier or something like that though too. I think easier is relative though.
Yeah.
Like struggle is hard. Like being mediocre is hard. Like doing something you don't want to do is hard. Entrepreneurship is hard. Keeping on the grind is hard. Like pick, you know what I mean?
Pick what hard is.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to do entrepreneurship, so I'm going to go do something easy. To be honest with you, I think the other one's harder. You know what I mean? I think like sitting there like wishing I could have is the worst.
Yeah.
I'd rather do this and just blow up and fail as opposed to like not do it though too. You know what I mean? I think that's the switch though too. You know what I mean? And that's something you can't teach though too. You just kind of have to have that though too. I always say if you have hustle, I can teach you a lot. If you don't have hustle, I'm not going to bother. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. I feel like you kind of made that decision pretty early on.
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing for me too is, I'll be honest, I love cars, right? And in high school, man, there was a sheet about like 10 careers you could choose, right? I'll never forget this. It was like 10 careers you could choose, right? And the top one was anesthesiology. It was like you can make $330K, okay? I'm like, all right, that's good money, right? And I'm like, man, okay. But it was like these 10 careers are the top paying ones. Basically, choose your life based on these 10, right? This is what the next 40 years is going to play out for you, like, right? And that one kind of didn't sit with me right already because that's a lot of time, though. But then the 330,000 number, I kept like, all right, I'm like, that's the cap, that's the ceiling, the proverbial like glass ceiling I put in my head, because that's what high school was giving me, right? And like high school is supposed to be like a guided institution that teaches you things, right? But like being taught certain information is not always the correct information though, right? And so what I learned though is, tying back to cars, is I remember reading that sheet, and then like 2 weeks later, I was in Las Vegas, and I saw an orange Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera, right? And that's like cool as hell, right? But I looked it up, and I was like, man, that car is $275,000. After $330, if they get taxed, that's the only thing you're buying that year. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, man, they're not telling me something though too, right? And then I went through my own self-education process of like, all right, the wealthy own like assets, they own like IP, they have royalties through music creation and stuff like that, books and stuff too, right? They don't have careers like the people who, like anesthesiologists, the people who making real money own the office and then hire out the anesthesiologists in order to like cater to the clientele, and then they create like an organization or structure around those anesthesiologists in which they hire, because they're not getting 330 out of nowhere. Someone's got to pay for that though. So who's going to pay for that though? It's probably the people owning it though, right? And that's the big thing I preach to people is like ownership. I got a couple buddies now who like have companies like, man, I'm really frustrated with what's going on, man. I'm like, but you have ownership though. You have equity, man. That'll make you wealthy though too. Like if you keep on keeping on with that, if you go any other route though too, like unfortunately you're not going to be, like you will be wealthy to an extent though, but not as wealthy as you could be. And I'm only here for a limited amount of time, man, so I want to just go for it though. You know what I mean? Yeah.
No, for sure, dude. It's like, where are you now in the whole business aspect too? Like I want to just
just released to the restaurant finally too. So it's one thing to like have an idea, it's another thing to like point to and be like, that's what it is too. And so that's the level of credibility that is just like match though too. Like I can actually like when people question on the motion of what's going on, I'm like it's right there too, right? But I'll be honest with you, man, it's been a lot of soul searching though too, right? Because like, what does success look like though too, right? A lot of people are like, I want to be successful, right? And like, I want to be successful, right? And so many people I know don't like clearly define that though too, right? And then they wonder why they never get there, right? Like, my big thing right now is like, what does success really look like for me too? Like, outside of career though too, right? My grandpa always taught me to be like a Renaissance man too. So like be multifaceted too. So like relationships, physical health, friends and your group and like your family or something like that. Like where your value or value systems lie, or are they all at 10 though too, right? You know what I mean? Like I want to be killing it on all fronts and not just one front though. And I think really taking that approach of like getting into it though too. And then honestly, as crazy as it sounds, as I'm just getting in the market with this now, I'm already thinking about other ventures too, like of things I want to do, but I'm thinking what it's going to look like in like 3 to 5 years or something like that too, right? Not like right now too, because I want to remain tunnel vision focused though too. But I have an itching to get into other like hustles and ventures though too, because like I don't sell rolled silverware, like I sell time is what I tell people, like because rolling silverware has been around forever, but I've created a more efficient way to do it, right? And that's a big value proposition. Yeah. But rolling silverware in and of itself isn't a sexy business. Now, the hospitality space is incredible, too. Like, I get to meet the coolest people all day long, and my work environment is bars and restaurants. Like, how can you even complain, right? And with all things being considered, though, too, I do have inclination to get into other industries. Now, if you were to ask me what, I'm not entirely sure yet, but I know it's going to be something else at some point. I don't want my entire legacy to be a silverware rolling machine. I also have a chip on my shoulder. Like a lot of people are like, oh, Evan got lucky with this idea. I'm like, watch, I'm going to run it back twice on you, and then you're going to see what's up. Yeah.
You don't get lucky for years. Like,
yeah, that's the thing, though, too, right, is the iceberg effect. You ever seen that? Yeah. Yeah, like for you guys, like I think it would be really cool, like in say, I don't know, 3-5 years or something, like we do another podcast and everything too, just to see where you guys are at that point though too. And like, I think that'd be a really powerful message for a lot of people though too, right? Because that's so important to me, because like, and thank you for saying that, Sean, because a lot of people like are like, oh, hyping me up and everything too, but like years prior though too, there were no applause, there was no photos, there was no anything though too, right? It was just like me, like just keep on keeping on, Evan, don't quit, just keep going and going and going, man. Like just that really, it's not like the best, it's not like the piece of advice you want to hear, but it's the piece of advice that you need to hear though too, right? Because I've learned entrepreneurship is not business meetings, right? Entrepreneurship is you trying to fall asleep, staring up at the ceiling and wondering what the hell I'm doing though, right? And that's how you really know if you're really about what you got going on though too, right? Because then you got to wake up the next day and get after it though too, right? Like when you're in flow, it's easy though too, right? But when you get, everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the face, right? And so if you just keep on keeping on with that though too, man, and just like be okay with just keep getting hit and then get back up though too, as long as you're on a path that you feel will like scale too. I preach about scale though too, because like it's one thing to have like a retail store, right? Yeah. Or something where like your time is capped though too, right? Yeah. But if you have something where you can develop systems around too, like man, you can really blow it up though too. And then like as long as you have the systems in place though too, yeah, you might have to eat shit for a little while, but then you have something where like it works in the background though too, honestly. Like I'm now from my side of the coin, if I don't like take some sort of exit or something, I want to think of ways that I ironically kind of phase myself out of the business, not the other way around though too, right? Because like I think the real testament is 90 days pass and you're still making money and but you're still not there though too, right? Because you have such a killer structure in place though with systems. So I think that's the big thing that I want to step into next, and that skill set I think will transform into other like businesses though too, right? And then I'll start to build up like a portfolio of other assets though too, whether that's like real estate or something like that too. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, like, definitely when you paint me the picture of looking up in the ceiling, not knowing what the hell you're doing with your life, like, bro, that hits me. Like every entrepreneur or every business owner probably could feel or relate.
Yeah. Because that's what it really is though too, right? Like this is how you know I'm really an entrepreneur, is that comment right there. 9 times out of 10 I walk in a room, so I'm like, man, how the hell did I get here? Or like, especially if I'm really nervous for a meeting though too, right? I don't know what it is about elevators, man. But if I'm going up an elevator, I feel some type of way, man. And I have like these internal dialogues I have to tell myself though too, to give myself a hype up. And like, it's not necessarily the meeting in of itself though too, but like I'm thinking to myself like, man, I used to scrub Italian dishes, like scrub the shit out of them to get the cheese and everything too. And now I'm like a founder and CEO, like going to have a meeting with this guy. Like shit's changed, right? Like, and like that never doesn't hit though, right? I never like take that moment for granted though too, right? And I like, it's cool, man, because like it's not just me anymore too. Like the amount of people that I talk to like outside of media too, just like general conversation, they're just like so inspired, man, too. And that's a level of fulfillment that I never was looking for, but I got to, and I'm like, man, that's addicting though too, right? Because like they know that like I'm actually like just a fairly normal person, right? But I'm getting into these situations like, man, what? And like a lot of it's like education, right? Because like this is life changing, right? Like I'm getting into situations where it's not just me I could take care of, it's everybody around me I could take care of, right? Yeah. And if you're able to teach people, like what's it, teach a man, feed a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, like feed him for a lifetime or something, right? And I just learned that the amount of like real satisfaction and happiness that people get from like knowing that like it's even possible too. That's what the one thing, man, that I talk to, just you need to actually just get up out of your own way too, right? Like that's a big thing. I talk to so many people who are like, I want to do something though too, right? And it just bothers me, man, because I'm just like, why not? And whatever comes out their mouth is 9 times out of 10 not good enough though too, because their current situation is not good enough, right? So like I'm like, all right, cool. And I come at it from 2 angles, right? I do the hype up type thing, right? And then I'm like, and then I do the I don't give a shit side. And you know what's funny? I do the hype up side, and some people, for whatever reason, they just don't get motivated enough. They're like, I ain't feeling the hoorah or whatever, right? And then I go to like, all right, cool. All right, just keep on what you're doing, all right? Let me know how that goes. And then they're like, wait a second. I don't want to keep doing what I'm doing. Hold up. Come back. I got a question for you. What if I talk to... There we go. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of people some people move towards pleasure and other people move away towards pain, move away from pain. And a lot of people think they move towards pleasure when really their engine is moving away towards pain, right? And the amount of times like people are like, I want to be successful or something like that too is a lot, right? But you ever talk to someone who's like, I don't want to go back to where I used to be at? they have a different energy attached to them, though, too. They have a different engine, a different motor to them, though, man. They, like, actually are about what they're saying, and, like, they follow through on shit, though, too, right? They don't just, like, go through, like, lackadaisical or whatever the word is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they actually have, like, some bravado about it, though, too. And so I try to hype people up and get them towards their quote-unquote pleasure receptors of, like, oh, the villa, or, like, taking care of my family, or, like, fulfillment or something like that, right? And sometimes that works, right? And then I put people towards, like, the pain spectrum, though, too. I'm like, all right, what about this side of the coin, though, too, right? And it's amazing how it's one of the two, and it's never a third one, though, too, right? But a lot of people, like, it's either pleasure or pain, right? Those are the two, like, motivating, driving factors for, like, damn near everything, though, too, right? And anybody that likes to tell me differently, I, like, phrase it to them this way, and they're like, oh, okay. And, like, 10 times out of 10, that's how it is, though, too, right? That's the thing that I've learned, though, too, is, like, on human psychology. And I'll use that on myself, man. Like, I'm preaching to the choir here, like, pain, like, I don't want to go back to anything I was doing prior, though, too. And that keeps me motivated and keeps me into constant education, constant, like connecting, constant, like, trying to make a better version of myself, though, too, right? Because, like, a downgraded version of myself I did not like, though, too, right? And I was okay with not liking that, though, too, right? I don't like a lot of people, and I didn't like the downgraded version of myself, though, too. So I raised my standards, and I told myself I got to create a version of myself that I actually like, though, because I think that's the highest version of, like, self-love or whatever, is, like, actually taking stock of where you're at and doing everything you can to create a better version of yourself, though, too, because what you love and care for gets tendered to and taken care of, though, too, right? And I think that in and of itself is really powerful. And I think if you can carry that on with not only, like, business but in life, though, too, man, you go so far. Yeah.
I feel like with you, it's like you never even spoke about money once. Like, it's the things you don't see.
Well, yeah. Well, I think money's a byproduct of everything I got going on, though, too. Like, impact in and of itself, though. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, in numbers in and of itself, they're a measuring stick, right, too? But if you're in entrepreneurship, right, like, that's why I'm preaching ownership. And, like, I was talking about equity and everything. That's, like, 9 times out of 10 how you'll get to millions. Like a salaried job around here in America and everything is like $250 if you're, like, really good, right? No one making $1 million a year on up and everything is, like, employed and everything, unless they're in a ridiculously high sales profession, which is basically commission only, which is basically working for yourself. Yeah. So, yeah, like, the money follows, like, ownership and equity, though, too, right? Yeah. A lot of people, like, I want to make millions, but they don't understand, like, how to, like, they're not on a cap table of something, though, too, right? You know what I mean? And so if they don't have, like, ownership and, like, that's what, like, making millions is one thing. Owning assets is another thing, though, too. I want to make millions, right? And so I need to have assets, though, too, right? But you can't have one without the other, though, too, right? And a lot of people try to have millions without having assets, and that doesn't really work, right? Yeah. You need to actually have ownership in something, though, too, right? Like, you can in other ways, but you're making it way too hard on yourself. This is already hard enough, though, too, right? You're much better off having, like, actual things that you can point to, like, what's your portfolio look like, too, so to speak, though, and constantly building it up, though, too, right? And I think if you keep on keeping on with that, too, like, you'll get somewhere for sure, yeah. But it's about putting your energy and your thoughts in the right vehicles, though, too, right? You need to focus on, like, real estate. You need to focus on stocks. You need to focus on businesses, like, asset classes that make sense, though, too, right? Don't try to go up a ladder. Don't try to put a ladder up against the wrong wall and wonder why you ended up on that rooftop as opposed to another rooftop, though, too. It just doesn't work like that, too. Yeah.
That's really good advice. And I think, like, how I see it, too, is, like, it's the mentality of how high school and like education has framed the whole
Oh yeah.
perspective of everything. Like,
Oh yeah.
I think about like a lot of people go like, yeah, I'll do medical, like no questions asked by high school.
Mhm.
They go on this 10-year path of college debt. Like they
Mhm.
put what 80 grand on undergrad,
Yeah.
another 200 grand on post grad. Like
Of course.
that's 240, 250 grand. That
That's
you just
crazy.
betted on yourself.
Yeah.
Why can't you do that on like a business? Like 200 grand.
Oh, that bothers me, but yeah,
That's
yeah. No, well,
That's a lot.
Yeah, the whole like not able to take out 100 grand for student loan, but can't take out 10 grand for a business is just crazy to me and everything too, especially when you're young though too. That whole thing though too, man, like it's a very common route though too, right? But what I learned is if you want to be uncommon, you can't do what's common too, and that sounds so simple, right? Too. But like the tying back to cars, man, I've always like success leaves clues, right? And like I thought to myself like, when do I always see the coolest cars, right? It was like early as hell in the morning or late at night though too, right? It wasn't like in traffic at like 1, you know what I mean? Like, and there was like things that I picked up on that though too, right? I'm like, all right, they're not doing something normal. They have something else going on that I'm not apparently aware of, right? They're not telling me, that I'm not educated on though too. So I had to go self-educate though. The whole school system in general, like when I have kids and everything, and I will, not probably, I will. They're going to my school. Like I would rather they skip high school than miss my school, because I'm gonna teach them some things though too. Like, and it's not going to just be about business. It's about life, about relationships, though, too. That's the crazy thing is, like your health, relationships, and money and finance, though, too. Arguably, those 3 things control a lot of your life, though, too, right? A lot of people would say not on health, but health is sometimes 10 or 20 on some people's lists until it's number 1 by no choice of their own, because they're ending up in the hospital, right? Yeah. So, and relationships though too, especially like significant other, like your best friends or people you work with, that takes up a great majority of your time though too. So my kids are going to be educated on those 3 topics in particular though too, right? Along with other ones though too, but I am more concerned with them, not just through me, but other resources though too, because I don't know it all, right? But other resources, learning about those particular topics. I care about them going to that more than high school though too, right? I mean, obviously go to high school though too. I'm not saying don't go to high school, but like, you know what I mean though? Like it's that level of like, yes, you need to do this though too. Not because you necessarily want to, but because you need to. Because like life will kick you in the balls if you don't take care of these 3 things though too. And you're still gonna get kicked in the balls, but I need you to like be able to avoid a couple shots though too, and like at least see it coming though too, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's big for me though too. There's certain like podcasts or certain books I'm gonna have them read and stuff like that too. Like have my own like school. Like I don't think I would like homeschool them entirely too, but it's gonna be some sort of like, hey, I need you to do this. And then the rest is free range, right? Then you can go do the mistakes, right? I'm not going to try to stop you from X, Y, Z, right? Yeah, my parents tried to stop me from X, Y, Z, and that did not work, though, too, right? So, yeah.
I love that. I think, like, it's like teaching them values that are, I mean, something that's creating a foundation for them when they get kicked in the balls.
Of course.
You're going to have that foundation where you know how to recover.
Yeah, of course.
Teaching them.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things I take pride in, man, too, is like anybody around me or anybody in my future, like they can point to Evan did that, right? Like I can tell my kids or anybody like, hey, keep on keeping on and don't quit though too, right? But if I quit, like I'm just talking crazy, right? Like, they're not going to believe me, though, too. I have no authority to speak on the topic, though, too, right? But if I'm actually following through and I actually got it done, and I had wanted to quit, but I didn't, though, too, and carried it to fruition, though, that speaks volumes and everything about my character, though. And character is something that's unsaid, but speaks, too. You know what I mean? And I want character to be a reflection where, like, I love one of these quotes. It was like, if no one knew what your goals were, would they? Or if you told no one your goals, would they still know what your goals are, though, too, right? And like, for the longest time, like, I was like, I'm gonna get a silver rolling machine built, like, come hell or high water, though, too, because I believe in the product, I believe in what it can do for the industry, I believe in the potential, and I got people to back me up and everything just outside myself, and like, that energy like carried me through, though, too, right? And I think that will help like my kids or like future people that I meet, though, too, like, hey, Evan's got some validity to it, though, too. And I think that'll, as much as it'll give me credibility, also inspire other people that, like, hey, this guy did it for like 5-6 years and he's still keeping on with it, though, too. Like, what's my excuse, though, too? Right? Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So, just to close out the show, like,
yeah,
I guess, like, if you saw yourself 5 years ago or 6 years ago, any advice or things?
I love this question. Yeah. You got to answer this too. All right. Okay. Oh man, I love this question because I don't want to say I start to regret things, but I'm like, man, focus on the things that matter too, right? And don't focus on the things that don't matter. Build your skill set up. Build your relationships the way you have. Focus. I'm not gonna lie. Focus on the money. Keep your circle close, quality over quantity in everything you do. Value and treasure the relationships that you have. Try to be more present in the moment. You'll be all right. Yeah. What about you?
Me, dude. I mean, I feel like you dropped a few bombs throughout the whole podcast of tips.
Yeah.
Definitely related to a lot of them. I think you kind of validated a lot of my thoughts, too.
Yeah.
I think my biggest advice is, like, kind of relating back to your quote on success leaves clues.
Mm-hmm.
I think my biggest thing is, like, look around a little bit deeper.
Okay.
Like, look at the things that people don't see. And
okay.
Those things.
Keep on with that. Yeah. Expand on that one for me.
So, like, when I was going through college and all that, like, yeah, like, I started seeing patterns. Like, people were doing the same thing. I was in business school. So I was like, okay, like, what's your internship this summer? The moment you say something that's not even on their list, they're like, all right, that's cool. And then they walk away. Like, that was the mentality of the
man, that's crazy.
Business students at OSU.
Yeah.
And when you look at that, it's like, dude, is that really what I'm chasing for? Like, because I'm chasing for the big companies too, but if big companies are hiring these kids that carry themselves in this attitude, I'm like, do I really want to be?
Man, what?
So that's the kind of, I guess.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Growing up, I was like, man, like, do I really want to be like those kids?
That's wow.
And I was like, no, I want to be like a good person. Like,
yeah.
I want to like learn about people.
Yeah.
And so my biggest thing is like, that's one thing I realized, like, how do I self-search? So what gives me the most pleasure is like meeting entrepreneurs like you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of energy I get.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yo, I want to chase my dreams. Like,
be in the right environment, too. Yeah.
I put myself in business school because, like, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I switched majors like 5-6 times.
Yeah.
To find the right fit.
Yeah.
I even joined the military and stuff.
Yeah.
Because, like, dude, I just needed time to think.
Yeah.
And so once I got back, I think that's when my vision was so clear. It was like, I've always been looking at the wrong places because I was always looking at what people were telling me to do. Like, hey, like, go to college, get a good job, do all those things. It seems so, like, templated. Yeah.
To
be a template.
Yeah, and I think I think people can give you advice all day long, though, too. But if, like, at the end of the day what drives you, though, too, better than anybody else, though, too. You just need to be really honest with yourself, though, too. Because what's right is not always popular, though, too, right? And like, dude, that's crazy about that internship thing though too, right? Like I really do believe that, because like people in like college and growing up, and they'll ask you like school or what's your major and everything, and people will ask you that to calculate the level of respect that they'll give you though too, right?
It's all numbers in there.
Like, it's like, if you don't have some big name whatever and everything though too, like what kind of motion do you really have going on though too, right? And but it's crazy how like you were able to like see above that though too, right? Because my big thing is, when you go from seeking approval to they need to get my approval is the day your life gets better. So like, you were going through that process talking to them like, oh no, I'm actually got something going on. But you're like, hold up, wait a second. What are you talking about though? What are we really trying to do though too? And like, dude, I love that though, man, honestly. Yeah.
I think like, for me, like, I mean, I'm religious. I'm Christian and stuff, but I think even if you're not religious, I think one thing that I feel like I always like looking at is like, I feel like everything happens for a reason, you know, that cliche quote.
Yeah, yeah.
You really look at it and look at the things that happen in your life.
Of course.
And don't count them as like worthless.
Yeah.
And instead, like, think of them as lessons.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
It's accumulating.
How you frame it though too, right? Yeah.
It's like accumulating wealth and knowledge. Experiences.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what has pushed me through. It's like, when some bad shit happens, like, I learn from it. And now that I learn from it, I'm a little bit higher. Like,
yeah, of course.
Teachings that books can't teach you.
Yeah, no, I do. You know, what's funny is I literally said that quote to myself yesterday about like everything happens for a reason though. Because there's certain things that like, I'm like, I was about to be somewhere and I wasn't somewhere, and plans got changed and everything. Because plans got changed, I ended up having a conversation that I wouldn't normally have if I would have been doing that. And that conversation changed the direction and catalyst for a bunch of other things though too, right? You know what I mean? But at the time though too, like, I was set in stone, like, oh man, I should have been here or something like that too. But then plans fell through as life happens, and I just so happened to quote unquote fall into another conversation or opportunity though too. And like, and I actually, all things being considered, I think it'll play out better that way, like in the long run though too. But I wasn't planning for that though too, right? And it just kind of happened though too. But yeah, no, that's great, man. Yeah.
I think one thing too is like, I don't know, I didn't ask this earlier, but were you ever like a server at some point?
Yeah, server, dishwasher, busser, bar back, a little bit of bartending, pizza. Made pizzas. I used to make funny story. I used to make pizzas, right? That's how I got into dishwashing. No lie. I was started on making pizzas, right? But I messed up the one day. I put mushrooms on top of the cheese, not underneath the cheese. And it was like a big sheet pizza and for a big party, and like that takes some time to cook, and I just messed that up, and so I got, I don't want to say demoted, but I got demoted to dishwashing, right? And then I used to deliver pizzas too and everything. Yeah.
But that kind of connects to how you started your whole business.
Yeah, exactly.
Demotion.
Yeah, it just I think I was cool with the reroutes though too, honestly, and I'm thankful because although it's a restaurant, all those positions that I just listed off require like a different mentality and a way of thinking though too. Like, they all create an ecosystem together though too, right? To come together to create like one whole experience, right? But like the way I did delivery driving with pizzas, something like that, it's different than like catering to a table or something like that too. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And the reason why I asked that is like, dude, I was in this restaurant. I was started as a host, but everyone was quitting, so we needed a host and a busboy. So I became host, busboy. And the servers quit, so I became host, busboy, and server.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah, so, you wore all the hats though too. Yeah.
But one thing you learn is like, you learn how the front end, back end works.
Of course, yeah.
Being taught business by doing all these jobs.
Oh yeah, and like you're, especially on serving though too. That is like one of the most underappreciated jobs because you're dealing with people, right? A lot of people think you're dealing with food, right? You're really not. You're trying to deal with people and trying to get hangry, hungry people happy again, though, too, on a repeatable basis, too, right? And that takes real skill, though, too. Trying to meet a stranger you've never met before and just like, I'm really hungry, man. I need you to get me food ASAP, and like cater my ever-tending will, basically, and like doing that again and again and again. My people skills went up tenfold when I started to serve and everything, too, because like, you really get to see people for who they are and everything when they're hungry and stuff like that, too. Like, they hold nothing back, too. And that's the big thing for me, too, is like, if I'm like, if I'm out on a date, or like if I'm like in a meeting or something like that, too, right? How the person treats the wait staff, too, for me is huge, though, too, right? Because like that kind of teaches me a lot about their character and like how they carry themselves as an individual, too. Yeah. 100%. Were you at a local spot, by the way?
Yeah, it was called Bonchon.
Okay.
It closed down like in 3 months.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Like
no wonder you were doing all the work. Yeah.
It was popping for a little bit, and then it died out.
Where was this?
It was like a sawmill.
Okay.
Sawmill, and then there was one on campus location. But
what was it exactly?
It's like a Korean chicken.
Okay.
It's like double fried, deep fried chicken.
Oh man, that sounds good. Yeah. You said Bonchon?
Bonchon, yeah.
What was this?
It was like 4 years. No, it was like dude, I was in high school, so I was like 6 years ago.
Oh, 6 years. Okay. That's a minute ago.
There's a new place called CM Chicken. It's just
Okay. Yeah. My buddy was just telling me about that. They got, I think it's like hot chicken or something they got. Yeah, he's like, it's really good, though, too.
The way they do it is like, it's fried once, and then when it's ready to serve, they fry it again. So
America. Yeah.
But dude, I think like, when you say like people with hospitality, dude, that's like key. It's like, if I take you out to dinner, are you stacking your plates? Are you trying to keep your table clean so that the server like makes it easier for them? Like,
man, I did that the one day, and people were like, "Why are you doing that?" I was like, "Why you got an attitude?" I was like, "Yeah, no."
A lot about you.
Well, it's also like just. I don't know. I just want to make it easier too. And like, here's the thing too. It doesn't take that much effort to stack the plates though too. It really doesn't though. And honestly, like, there's something just satisfying about stacking plates too. I just like learned to love it and everything too. After doing it so many damn times, I've started to like the small things too. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I'm serious, man. Like, because restaurants in particular are one of the very few places where you can see real human interaction outside the house too, right? And you get a feel for like who someone is though too. Like automatically, if people are trying to meet for the first time, like bars, restaurants, automatic default too. Coffee, but yeah, I mean past 11 a.m. too, right? And I've learned though too how people carry themselves. Like, it's a lot of things that you don't say, a lot of things that you just, like how you speak with your actions though too, right? I pick up on all the cues too, and to be honest with you, I have a hard filter on who I roll with or who I like associate myself with, not because I don't like people, but because I'm trying to like maintain a certain standard around like the environment that I have too. Because if I didn't have a standard to it, I'd just accept anything to it. I'm not about accepting anything, because I used to accept anything, and I don't want to do that. Yeah. And I've learned, like, once you actually have a standard, like, you'll actually be more inviting to, like, more positive and more prominent experiences, though, too. Yeah. So, yeah.
Just more catered.
Yeah, exactly. And just, like, I'm big on, like, values and how you hold yourself, though, too. Yeah.
That's really strong.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's it for the show, bro.
Of course. Thanks for having me on, man, by the way.
We're going to have you again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. What's your social medias, too? Plug that.
Yeah, so my social media is fluffstudio.us.
Okay. Yeah, I'm at Evan all day. EVAN all day, because I never switch up. Yeah. And then at Alphamated, ALPHAMATED. That's the company. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, thank you for being here, Evan.
Of course, man.
We'll have you soon.
For sure. Yeah, let's do a recap soon. For sure. Yeah.